Sonic.
Hey everyone, just taking a quick 15 seconds to let you know that my new book, The Fitness Mindset, Eat for Energy, Train for Attention, Manage Your Mindset and Reap the Results, which hit the bestseller list within 24 hours of its release, is now available to buy on Amazon. So if you're looking for everything you need to get into incredible shape and the mindset to keep it forever, be sure to check it out. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Welcome to Brian Keane Fitness Podcast, where we talk everything fitness, nutrition and mindset with your host Brian Keane.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Brian Keane Fitness Podcast. We talk everything fitness, nutrition and mindset to help you with your goals. Today's episode is a Q&A, and I've pulled my questions from Snapchat and my Instagram. So my Snapchat, BrianK019, and my Instagram, Brian Keane Fitness. All the questions that come in from the podcast normally come in from those two platforms. They're probably the ones I'm the most active on at the minute. So if you have any questions, be sure to send them in through there. First question comes in from Connor Apple123 on Snapchat. What are the best tips for saving money in college? Okay, so what I would definitely do, Connor, is check out the podcast episode I did on how to get lean or build muscle on a budget that I did back at the start of the series of the podcast. Hopefully you got a lot of value in that. But I'm also going to expand on this one. As someone that I have 2 degrees, I have an honors degree in business and a postgraduate in teaching. So I've spent 5 years total in college. So I remember what it was like to have no money and not know what to spend my money on for whenever I did have it, or where I should save costs or cut costs in order to live a fitness lifestyle. Even though that I had very little income or very little revenue coming in, because it just doesn't lend itself to the college lifestyle to have a lot of money in most cases. So one of the main things that I would offer is, when you're deciding how to train, always work out the pros and the cons of what's going to be the best training system, or working from a gym or training at home, that's going to work for you long term in terms of sticking to your program, and then works into your price or works into the amount of money that you have. For example, and this goes for anyone outside of college, so hopefully I'll be able to provide value to anybody here that's just wondering about saving money in general. The majority of us don't walk around with money burning a hole in our pockets, and anything you can save money on allows you to invest it in yourself, into more books, or into courses, into seminars, into whatever it is that's going to make you a better version of you. So what I would advise you do is work out what is it that you really need from your gym or from a training center that you're training at, or do you just need dumbbells and barbells to train at home? What happens with a lot of people is they'll sign up to a leisure center that has a swimming pool and a sauna and a steam room, and it means you're paying 70, 80, 90 euro a month on gym membership, and you only use the sauna or steam room once or twice a month, or the pool maybe even once a week. And realistically, that you don't need it that often, because you're mostly working with barbells, machines and dumbbells in the gym. By going to a normal gym and not being in a leisure center, you're straight away saving yourself 50, 60, 70 euro a month, because you're going to pay significantly less. And the same then if you're training at home, and for whatever reason you don't want to be going to a gym because of the way your class times falls, or this goes for anyone outside of college as well, if you've got kids at home and you just don't have time to get to a gym, or you can't prioritize the time, having dumbbells at home, or a barbell at home, or kettlebells at home, and then making sure that you're able to stick to that workout may be the best situation for you, so you're not paying a monthly fee in a gym. Again, if you're someone that keeps them in the room and they effectively just become dusty in the corner, then you're better off paying, treble the price and going to a gym where you actually do your workout. So again, reverse engineering you is very important. Working back for what works for you is very important. So that's one way you can save money, is decide what it is you need from your training center or your gym or working out at home, and then do that first. The next thing is going to be your nutrition. So one of the things that worked very well for me when I was in college was I used to go to different shops to buy different food sources that were cheaper, and then buying them when they were on offer and freezing them if possible. So if I was in Dunnes or Tesco or Lidl or Sainsbury's when I was in the UK and they had an offer on chicken, for whatever reason, I would buy more of it in bulk and then I'd freeze it and I had it. So for example, if it was half price for whatever reason because it was going off the following day, I'd bring it home and I would buy extra and I would freeze it, and then I would use it and just make sure I cook it as soon as it defrosted. So you can save a lot of money that way too. One of the other things that I worked was I used to have a backpack, and I would go to the different stores and do my weekly shop, but I would split it between the different shops depending on what was the cheapest. So I used to buy my chicken in Lidl, I used to buy my veg in Dunnes, or I used to buy my veg in Tesco, and then when I was in the UK I used to buy things like my almonds in Sainsbury's because they were cheaper in there, and I would make a rotation on what was the cheapest in each store, and again you save yourself another 30-40 euro a week by doing that. The last one then for college is going to be your drink. So And one of the things that will kill college students is drinking in a club and drinking in bars, because you're paying 3-4 times the price than if you bought it in an off license. So there's a fine line here in college between pre-drinking and getting too drunk and getting messy when you're out, and knowing how to have enough drinks that you just pay into your club and you might buy one drink in there and it saves you for the entire night. One of the things I used to do when I was in college was we used to use pre-drinking in our house. We would always have a house party somewhere before we went out. We would have 6-7 cans or whatever it is we were drinking. I used to drink the cheap Druid cider, Dutch Golds, the really crappy beers that were like €1 a can. And we would drink those, and then we used to go straight into the club and buy one drink and then nurse that drink all night. You know, some people would argue bringing in naggins and trying to sneak it in. Don't advise it necessarily, because if you get caught, you're going to get kicked out. But finding that sweet spot of going into a club at 10 past 12, quarter past 12, and you're already feeling good, you feel you've had a few drinks, and you just buy one drink when you're in there, and you've got a night out for 10-15 euro, assuming you walk home or you get a cab home and split it, and you can get your nights out for 10-15 euro in college. Is another great hack in terms of saving money. That works as well for working people. And particularly if you're not earning a lot of money, or you're putting money aside for a house or for a holiday or whatever it is, all of these tips work. They're just something that I use particularly in college, that will hopefully provide you a lot of value, Connor, and anyone else in college that's listening. And be sure to tell them about this part of the podcast. I put it at the beginning, so any college students, you can literally refer your friends and be like, oh, check out Brian's podcast, first question, and hopefully it'll help you guys loads. Okay, next question comes from Austin Moorebra on Instagram. What are the benefits of pre-workouts? Okay, so when you say pre-workouts, I assume you mean normal pre-workout drinks, because a pre-workout is just anything that you take before you train. So coffee can be a pre-workout, Red Bull, Monster can be a pre-workout, traditional pre-workouts can be a pre-workout, glucose can be a pre-workout, some simple sugars. But I assume in this context you mean traditional pre-workouts, so your actual combinations and blends of different ingredients that you take before you train in order to get a better workout. The benefits, the same as most things, there's pros and cons to everything. The benefits of pre-workouts are the fact that they'll probably move your workout up a couple of levels in terms of intensity and muscle pump that you would normally get without them. In some cases, not always, because if you take a pre-workout that doesn't agree with your system, it can actually hinder your workout. Like for example, there's certain pre-workouts and certain stimulants that just make me feel really sick and ruin my whole workout. Where there's other ones, I love the Flexi Fury, I love the Clean pre-workout that I get anytime I go to California. I bring it back with me. It's got no non-GMO, it's got no flavorings or artificial sweeteners in it. And I love those pre-workouts because they work well for me. I find it very, very difficult to recommend pre-workouts because one man's meat's another man's poison in terms of pre-workouts. Like, for example, the old Inno Explode by BSN used to make me so sick every time I took it, but Paul, who came through my mentorship program, loved it and thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. So people respond differently to different pre-workouts. So my advice would be to trial different ones, and then the one that you find works best for you, buy a full tub of it and then use that. The only disadvantage, and there's a pretty, again, anything that's going to give you a sympathetic nervous system response, a lot of caffeine, a lot of stimulants, anything that's going to put you into a fight or flight, which is effectively what the pre-workouts do. It's why you have such a good such a good workout when you take them, is because you're giving your sympathetic nervous system a bit of a rev, and it's sending your energy levels to the roof so that you get a better workout, you have more focus, you have a better muscle pump, there may be some L-arginine, some trillium malate in there, so you're getting better blood flow, so you just feel better in the overall workout. So a lot of benefits in terms of muscular endurance, in terms of you may improve your strength gains. But the main thing is that you're going to get a better workout in general. If you have a higher training output and providing your nutrition and recovery and your sleep and all the other things that are lined up or are in alignment with your specific goals and are working for you, the better training you have, the better results you can potentially get. And pre-workouts can help you get there faster. But like everything, there's a downside. One of the common things that comes back from people with pre-workouts is the first time they ever take one, you have the best workout of your life and you feel incredible, and now you take it, it doesn't really do anything. That's because most pre-workouts have a lot of stimulants, they have a lot of ingredients in there that your body will get used to. Your beta-1, your alpha-1, your beta-2 receptors will get used to those stimulants, and then you don't get that hit anymore. It's the same reason that when you first had a cup of coffee or a can of Red Bull or a can of Monster, you felt wired to the moon, and now you take it in the morning or you can take it before bed and you feel, it doesn't have any effect on you, because you start working, your body gets used and tolerates it and starts burning out those receptors. So one of the things I would advise is with pre-workouts, I would cycle them on and off so that you get the best bang for your buck when you do take them. After a certain period of time, if you're using a pre-workout and it's not working anymore, you have to either increase the dose, and then you're up from 1 scoop to 2 scoops, and now you feel like you have to go to 3 to get anything. That's the sign that your body needs to take a break from it. So I would wean off it then and take a couple of weeks off. Normally, whatever the time you were on it, take half that time off or equal the time off. So if you were 4 weeks using it, 6 weeks using it, take 4-6 weeks off it and then reintroduce it again if you so choose. One of the things I would advise is they're very, very easy to get addicted to, because when your bar moves and you have a workout that is just so much more intense with it, it's very hard to bring it up to that level without it. So just be aware, again, some may have some actual physical addictive ingredients in them. A lot of those get banned. They don't have to be tested in Europe. They don't have to be FDA approved. So that's why GAA players, athletes, be very, very wary with the pre-workouts you're using. There has been some notoriously high-end athletes, particularly in GAA, that have been banned from fat burners and pre-workouts because they were using ingredients in those supplements that didn't pass a drugs test. So you got to be very, very careful with the ones that you use. One of the reasons in my GAA Lean Body program that I use caffeine, or maybe caffeine with some theanine to slow it down, or green tea extract, is because you can use those ingredients in any sport that's not Olympic tested. Again, the certain level of caffeine is banned in the Olympics, but in any other sport you can use those without any drug fail. Pre-workouts, you can't guarantee it, so you've got to be careful. So in terms of the benefits, it's going to give you a better workout. Just be aware that it may stop working after a period of time. You may get a little bit hooked on it because your bar of how good a workout can be and how intensive workout can be can move, and as a result you feel you need the pre-workout to hit it. But if you want to use them as part of your arsenal to get a better workout, by all means include them, and the ones that you use and the ones that you include is going to be down to a personal preference. The one advice I would offer when choosing your pre-workout is the scoop size is normally a good indicator of the quality of the pre-workout. And the bigger the scoop normally means that there's some quality ingredients in there. There's some creatine, some beta-alanine, some branched-chain amino acids, leucine. If you have a tiny scoop, it's largely just stimulant-based pre-workout. So it's just going to get you really amped up, but it's not going to work long-term because, one, you'll stop getting the high from it, and two, there's no real supporting muscle building ingredients in there. So be wary of the scoop size in your pre-workout. It's normally a pretty good gauge on what kind of ingredients that the pre-workout has, because if it's a big scoop, they've got some quality ingredients in there. If it's a tiny little scooper and it's giving you a load of energy and there's not much to it, it's normally just running off different stimulants. Okay, next question comes in from Collie O'Brien on Instagram. What's a good breakfast to kickstart your day? The truth is, when choosing a breakfast, again, like most meals, I would always base whatever breakfast you choose off whatever your specific goals are, and whatever works best for your actual dietary system, your digestive system. Some people work better off some carbs and protein in the morning. Some people work better off fats and protein in the morning. Some people are backloading their carbs, so they're not having carbohydrates till after training. Some people are having them in insulin-sensitive times, so they're having carbohydrates first thing in the morning to balance out their blood sugars for the day. It very much depends on what your goals are and what foods you include. So to try and provide as much value to anybody listening to this, I'm going to give examples from some of the ones in my program. So my GAA Lean Body program and my Top 50 program, which is my normal fitness program for building muscle, losing fat, toning up, whether you're a guy or a girl. Some of the examples that I have in there, and again, there's recipes books in each, so there's different breakfast recipes. But one is things like protein pancakes. Another is, oats with some form of whey protein or rice protein. Another may be a smoothie, a green smoothie or a fruit smoothie. Omelets, eggs, different variations of that are all great breakfast options. But the truth is, finding the one that you like the most, that fits into your specific goals and is in alignment with what you're trying to achieve, is going to be key, as opposed to saying, well, eat porridge every morning or eat eggs every morning. And by all means, they are great options, but you have to figure out what works best for you. If you're someone that needs to have a different breakfast every single morning, you want to have lots of different options. So for example, you're going to use different things like my protein hash browns or those little things, the different meals and recipes that are in the recipe book in my programs or in another program or online that you see. If you're someone that just wants the same breakfast every single day, which is me, I have a green smoothie every single morning. I don't want to have to make the decision of what I'm having every single morning. So I literally have a green smoothie when I wake up at 4:45 or 6 a.m. or whatever time it is I'm getting up that day, and I'll have that green smoothie. So it's very much about finding what it is that works for your schedule and then doubling down on, do you need something every day, and changing up and then filling your mind with different recipe ideas that you can do, or having the same foods every single day, or experimenting at weekends is what some people do, and then just building good quality foods into that. So your eggs, your oats, your protein powders, your smoothies, your different fruits, adding that in then is going to be around your specific goals, what's going to be key for kickstarting your day, and then hopefully balances out your blood sugar so that your energy levels stay stable, and then you've got your overall nutrition, the amount of calories you're consuming, your macro timings, and that's all geared towards whatever your goal is, whether it's losing body fat, building muscle, athletic performance, whatever that is, it's all based around that. Okay, next question comes in from AE Fitness Body First on Instagram. What exercise would you recommend to widen the lats and build rear delts? Okay, so widening the lats. This was a pretty heavy focus for me back when I used to compete, when I was doing bodybuilding and fitness modeling. The best way that I found to build lats, and particularly width in the lats, is pull-ups. Strict wide grips pull-ups. Nothing built my lats more than actually using strict form pull-ups with a slow negative. The only thing is, for a lot of people, it's hard to build up to doing the rep range, which is your 8, 9, 10 rep range, which is hypertrophy rep ranges, in strict pull-ups. So what I would advise you do is, every single movement that you're doing in a lat pull down or any variation of a lat pull down with different handles, always keep the grip wide so that you're focusing on the width. The general rule, and again, there's different biomechanics that come into play here, but a simple rule to keep in your mind for building your back is the more row movements you do is going to build the inside of your back and the density within your back, and the more wide angle you go with lat pull downs and wide pull-ups, the more width you're going to build in your lats. So your T-bar rows, even going wide handle, is going to have a little bit more of a lat pull and work on the inside of your back, but you're going to have more focus on the width of your lats. So I would design a training program where you're going wide on everything for a few weeks and then rotating back in normal back movements, your seated row, your pull-ups, your close grip pull-ups, whatever normal movements you're doing, and then go back to your wide angle moves until you build up the width in your back that you're happy with and prioritize on that. For about 6 months, I didn't do any narrow work on my lats trying to build a width for stage when I was competing. So I would advise trying something similar, provided you have your nutrition on point, provided that you're working in the right parameters, hypertrophy bodybuilding parameters, and that you've got the right recovery strategy and rest in place. You're going to be able to build lats and your width in your lats pretty quickly by just taking a wide angle. And then as you build up in your pull-ups, whether you're using a band or a machine or body weight, they are the king movements for building width in your back, which will hopefully give you the width in your lats that you're looking for. In terms of building your rear delts then, this is probably one of the most mistrained body parts that I see in the gym. The truth is, your rear delts are the muscle on the back of your shoulder. They're a pretty small muscle group. And I normally lift 2, 3, maybe 4 kilo dumbbells on rear delts, because the truth is, if you're lifting anything in the 20, 30 kilo weight range that I see people doing, you're probably not using your rear delts. You're using your traps to move that weight in a rear delt raise, where you're getting some connection with your rear delts, but it's largely your traps. That's why people get a massively overdeveloped traps, and they're just not able to define their rear delts and build that muscle. So what I would advise you do on all your rear delt moves, your rear delt flies, your reverse incline flies off a cable, anything that's hitting rear delts, drop the weight back and focus on squeezing the back of your shoulder on each rep. I'm a big fan of time under tension in most cases in tension style training, particularly for smaller muscle groups like rear delts and biceps. one of the reasons that people struggle to build those muscle groups is they're going too heavy. And by all means, there's a place for going heavy in your workouts. So heavy is subjective to each person, but there is a place for going heavy in your workouts. But on those smaller muscle groups, if you're swinging 40 kilos on a bicep curl, or you're doing a rear delt raise with 20 kilos, you're not working primarily your biceps or your rear delts. You're working all your secondary movers, you're working other muscles, and you're not going to get the best bang for your buck on your rear delts or your biceps in this case. So my advice would be drop the weight back, focus on time under tension, keeping tension on the rear delt on every single rep, and you're going to build it a lot faster than just throwing up the weight because you see the big guy in the gym with the overdeveloped traps doing 20 or 30 kilos on rear delt raises. Leave your ego at the door. The best piece of advice I ever got for the gym, and go in and train the way that you need to train to design and build your body and your physique. Okay, next question comes in from Anonymous on Snapchat. Brian, I have a new girlfriend, but I can't stop thinking about my ex. Did I make a mistake breaking up with her? Okay, so the reason I'm answering this question is because this shows up in different areas of life, regardless of whether it's with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or just a decision we make in general. What happens with a lot of people is when we make a decision, we always go back to the grass is greener on the other side and wonder, did we make the right decision in leaving that person, leaving that country, deciding to do that job or not take that job. And we always second guess the decisions that we make. The truth is, one of the biggest things that has changed for me over the last 2 or 3 years is I realize that the grass isn't green on the other side. The grass is green on the side that you look after. And what happens is we have a psychological tendency to look back and wonder, did I make the right decision? Should I have stayed with my ex-girlfriend? I can't stop thinking of her. Should I have stayed at my other job because I think I was happier there? And we have what's called a misremembering bias. It's Daniel Kahneman talks about it in his book Thinking Fast and Slow. Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman are famous psychological researchers on the cognitive biases in the brain. So our system 1 and system 2 thinking, our system 1 thinking where we automatically think something and we haven't had a chance to second guess it, and then our system 2 is our slow, right, take yourself out of it and realize, was that a good decision? When you react emotionally to somebody calling you something, that's your system 1 kicking in. When you take 2-3 minutes to calm down and relax, your system 2 kicks in. And he talks a lot that we have a misremembering bias where we look back on situations and misremember how we felt when we were experiencing that situation in the first place. And I've been a victim of this in the past, and I've done this with ex-girlfriends. I've done this with different situations and countries I've visited where I've had a misremembering bias where I've chosen to remember all the good times with that person, and you forget that when you were actually in the middle of that relationship that you felt horrible about yourself, you weren't happy with the situation you were in, and your actual experiencing self was completely different to your remembering self. So it's very, very important to realize you're not getting caught with a psychological misjudgment tendency of misremembering how you felt when you were truly in that relationship. The best piece of advice that I can offer, and this is something that I still work on daily if this ever happens to me, is try and pull yourself out of the situation and remember what your experiencing self felt. How did you feel when you were in the relationship with that person? Because the truth is, if you broke up with your girlfriend or she broke up with you, there was something wrong with that relationship and that made you decide to go different paths or different ways. And when we look back on it and realize that we start focusing on all the positive things, we realize, oh, did we make a mistake? Maybe I should go back with that person. Even though I'm happy with my new girlfriend, I can't stop thinking about my ex. And we all make these decisions and we misremember how we felt at the moment in the experience. We do it with jobs. I did it with jobs. When I left my teaching job to start as a personal trainer when I first started, I remember there was times when I would wake up in the morning and I'd have a client cancel and I wouldn't have a lot of money, and I was still living at home, living in my mum and dad's house. And I would remember the times when I was teaching and I was like, oh, maybe I should go back. I loved teaching. It was really, really good. But when I was actually doing the teaching job, I remember what it was like, that I would experience, this isn't what I was supposed to do. I was put on the world to do something else. I was put on the planet to do something else. But only catching that and realizing that you're misremembering how you felt when you were actually in that situation can allow you to really focus on how you feel going forward. So my biggest advice I can offer here, and hopefully it provides value to anybody listening, is don't get caught and get confused between your remembering self and your experiencing self. There's two different yous. what you remember and what you experience at the moment in time are two very different things. I know myself that when I went on a trip to Paris, I remember when I was in Paris, it wasn't a city that I loved. I remember I didn't really enjoy it. And I love Rome and I love Barcelona and I love London. But I went to Paris and it was just a city that I didn't really like that much. But when I came out of it and I see photos back, I'm like, oh, Paris was amazing. That's not the truth. That's a misremembering bias of that's not how I felt when I was actually experiencing it and I was in that country. So it's very, very important to understand that what you experience and what you remember are not always the same thing. And in a lot of cases when you come out and you feel that you have a new girlfriend and you're thinking about your ex, or you're thinking about an old job, or you're thinking about another country you're living in, that you're experiencing self and you're remembering self are not the same thing. So I hope that that helps in terms of, did you make a mistake, and asking yourself, look, and the truth is maybe you did make a mistake. Maybe you do want to get back with your girlfriend, but my gut tells me from your message that it's probably a misremembering bias, especially when you're happy with your new girlfriend now. But for more information on that, I would definitely check out Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow. That book is one of those life-changing books if you take out the sections that you need to apply to your life in terms of the psychological misjudgments and the psychological tendencies that we have and we all do that we don't even realize we're doing. I spoke in my book, The Fitness Mindset, that the main thing that has changed for me over the last 4 or 5 years since I've got my business off the ground and have been able to do what I've done is trying to bridge the gap between the things I don't know and the things I don't know. And Daniel Kahneman's book was pointing out a lot of things in me that I didn't realize I didn't know. A lot of things I didn't realize I did. I didn't realize that I would misremember situations. I didn't realize that I would misremember different relationships that I was in. So it was very important to be able to point that out for me. And if it's something that you want more information on, hopefully it'll help you too. Okay, that's everything from today's episode. So a massive thank you to everybody who's been listening. Hope you got loads of value from this episode. So for more information on me, head over to my website, www.briankeyfitness.com. All the information on my Top 50 program, my GA Lean Body program, my GA Youth program is on there. My book, The Fitness Mindset, is on Amazon, the Book Depository, and all Jubilee bookstores in Ireland and selected bookstores in the UK. So massive thank you again to Colma Voxonic, who edits and puts together my podcast episodes. My Snapchat is BrianK019. Thanks for listening. Catch you all soon.